All right, episode 476 with our good friend Stephen Heuer from Synergistic Nutrition is brought to you by the Bellicon Rebounder. This is an amazing machine. I highly recommend it. It's great for building bone density, cleansing the lymphatic system, improving circulation. It's a cellular exercise, which means it stimulates every single cell of your body. It's just an incredible, unique exercise. It's the only exercise, too, that's like an internal organ exercise. So I highly recommend it for preventing disease, and if you have any kind of conditions, it's very soft and gentle. The Bellicon that we have has legs that fold up, and you can get arms on there to hold on to in case you're worried about balance. It uses flexi ropes, so it's very silent. It's just the best. It's the best. The benefits of rebounding are off the charts. It's probably one of the best exercises you could ever do. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. And we're also brought to you by the Relax Far Infrared Sauna. These are my two most favorite machines. I love the sauna. The sauna uses far infrared technology. What I like to do is do the Bellicon Rebounder first, out in the backyard, and then I'll do the sauna after that. And sometimes if I get fancy, I'll do the Bellicon, and then I will do some skin brushing to improve lymph flow, and then sweat it all out in the Relax Far Infrared Sauna. It's low EMF. It's portable. It's affordable for one. It doesn't cost $3,000, $4,000, or $2,000 even. And you don't have to build out your house and put it and move it. It's an amazing machine. It penetrates deeply within the skin. It's great for lymphatic system, sweating out toxins and poisons from your fat cells, for improving circulation, getting rid of all kinds of environmental toxins as well as toxins from the food that we eat. It helps you improve the immune system by up to 40%, people say, by increasing heat shock proteins. Thing's amazing. If you want to learn more about it, go to extremehealthradio.com/476 for both the sauna and the rebounder itself. All right, let's get on with the show with Mr. Stephen Heuer. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on another edition of Extreme Health Radio pre-election day. Can you believe it? November 7th, 2016. I tell you, I'm going to be happy when this election stuff is over and out of our lives. Man, oh man, oh man. That's all I hear about is the elections. So we're going to be talking to Stephen here today. This is going to be a good show. We're not going to be talking about the elections, which is always a plus. We're going to be talking about some information he's gathered up to help us maintain an alkaline pH, to remineralize bones, reverse gum recession, protect against and heal cavities, dissolve gum or calcium deposits from the arteries, the joint and soft tissues, increase insulin production, insulin sensitivity people, and lose unwanted body fat and increase testosterone levels. So we're going to be talking to Stephen all about that. He's the man behind Synergistic Nutrition, which is an amazing company that we get our a lot of our products from. They sell the One World Whey, the Synergy One, and the Andrea seed oils. We did a show with Stephen, episode 458, a little while ago about the Andrea seed oils, and what an amazing product that is. So you can listen to episode 458 if you're interested in what those seed oils can do for you. And so let's see. I don't think there's anything else to get to here today. Let me turn down the music here with Mr. Stephen Heuer, and I'll turn that off. Turn his microphone on. Stephen, can you hear us okay?
I can.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks for coming on today. We really appreciate it.
Of course, Justin. It's always a pleasure. It's like I have filled my mind with so much nutritional knowledge for so many years. It's kind of like packed to the point of overflowing. So any opportunity to release some of that through the mouth is a pleasure.
You're like a boiling pot, right? You just got to release some of that steam.
Exactly. It just kind of oozes out wherever the opportunity arises.
That's funny. Just before we started this show, I was reading over the information that you said about the alkaline pH and the remineralization of bones and gum recession. So I read all that. Yeah. So you've been doing some studying, some looking into these types of issues lately.
Well, I did it a long time ago. I mean, I started my nutrition training, or I should say education, was focused upon trying to understand not only all the other things basic to nutrition, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, and but pH regulation. And so I got a degree as a naturopath from a school that taught that pH has played a dominant role in our health. Here's how you manipulate it to get it in the right range. And then I got into hair mineral analysis after that. Then I got into dark field blood analysis, and then I did that for like 6 years and used various evaluation tools along the way. And then I came back to this because I looked at it more thoroughly about a year ago. I just got into it more thoroughly, learning from the Dr. Bedeau, who took up the work of Dr. K. Reams, that pioneered this whole pH regulation subject. And Bedeau's work is just more in-depth and specific, and so I learned that, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's been a lot of, as you know, we had on, gosh, what's the name of the guy down in San Diego who talks about the acid-alkaline balance, and and then we have other guests who write books. There's that famous book, Alkalize or Die, and then there's another one called Acidify or Die in response to that. So it's,
oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't read that one. Okay.
Yeah. So this acid-alkaline pH is an interesting concept. A lot of people make a big distinction, don't they, between the blood, the organs, and the different systems, and each system has to be its own particular pH. And
yes,
it's pretty complicated.
That's just normal. I mean, the GI tract is acidic, and the body itself is a combination of exchanging between acid and alkalinity, with a dominance towards alkalinity with regards to having an ideal soup or fluid medium for the body.
Yeah, it's interesting because don't they say that the bones are more alkaline? And because I think they say that with animals when the animal eats them like a muscle meat, the muscle meat's very acidic, but then the bones are alkalinizing, and so it's a good combination.
Well, yes, but no. I mean, basically, the bone is a calcium protein structure, and therefore you're getting more calcium if you were to boil the bones and drink the broth and whatnot, which is needed. You could say it helps minorly, yes. I guess you could say it does help somewhat, yeah. But the more important alkalinization that that we're going to get into is, it's a combination of getting the mitochondria to work correctly. So you got to imagine all these energy factories inside of our cells called the mitochondria. They are supposed to absorb glucose, and then when that mitochondria has all the nutrients that will run the Krebs cycle, and if you ever want to just look on whatever, I don't know, wiki or wherever, see the Krebs cycle, how many chemicals are involved, there's quite a few, and so you have to have all those present to run the Krebs cycle, and you have to have optimal oxygen levels, so that when you burn glucose to energy, you get 38 units ideally, in terms of mathematically, it could be 38 units, but it's probably more like 30 units under ideal conditions of ATP production, and very little lactic acid to no lactic acid production. And so that improving the efficiency with which the cell makes energy is perhaps the biggest factor, the fulcrum that determines whether you're going to tend towards acidity or alkalinity. That's one big factor. There's several other factors, but
that's interesting.
Just alkalizing the body, which is important, is only one part of the equation.
So when you create too much lactic acid, is that a sign that you've gone too far with your exercise or stress or anything like that? Is that the sign that you've gone too far?
Well, in terms of normal living, you're going to make lactic acid and excrete it, but if your saliva pH reads below, say, 6.6, then that's an indication that your whole body pH is acidic, preponderance of being acidic on a regular basis, which is then lowering your oxygen levels, lowering your energy production, and creating an anaerobic environment for the virus, fungus, pathogenic bacteria, and tumor cells to grow. And then when you work out, the degree to which you have endurance, energy and endurance before you reach muscle exhaustion is a result of how alkaline you are, how many alkaline buffers you have in your fluid medium that's bathing your tissues, and how efficiently your cells are absorbing oxygen and converting glucose into ATP. So,
okay. So you want to have some alkaline buffers. So if you're going to be doing some athletic performance, you want to have, so the degree or the duration in which your body starts breaking down, shows you how much of an alkaline buffer you have.
Yeah. So if you're experiencing after 30 minutes of aerobic exercise, running, whatever you're doing, you've got that soreness and that fatigue to the point that you really can't go any further, and you're just super winded, then you've exhausted your alkaline buffers at that point, and your body needs time to get rid of all the lactic acid you just created. And then the person that can take and have a very exceptional level of endurance, which, by the way, there's a product that I'm working with called Protovite. I have to say this because it's really exceptional how it's increased an athlete's endurance, where an average athlete, like a 72-year-old man that bikes competitively in all these different events for his age group, never wins an event, and all of a sudden he gets on this special liquid vitamin mineral product, herbal formula, and he's winning and getting medals. Or a 50-year-old lady that did the Ironman triathlon for 25 years every year, and then she gets on this liquid herbal vitamin mineral product, and she does her best time ever at age 50. So what I'm saying about this is that with proper nutrition that gets intracellularly, not just eating your good foods and taking your pills or your supplements and stuff that you think is good for you, because most nutrients are water soluble. And in order for you to get nutrients into the cells more efficiently, if you make those nutrients liposomal, you're going to get more absorption. And then that's why this product works so well, is because all of our membranes are phospholipid membranes. So phospholipid membranes like phospholipids and absorb and attract phospholipids. So due to the fact that they've taken the time to engineer herbals, vitamins, minerals, and encapsulate them in this liposomal delivery called protosomes, that they're ensuring you're getting these nutrients to go into the cell, so the mitochondria has the nutrients to run the Krebs cycle efficiently, and that super improves a person's athletic endurance. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so with the liposomal delivery system, it's attaching to the membrane of the cell and then able to deliver the nutrients to the inside of the cell.
Yeah, exactly. The nutrient basically gets sucked up because the cell is absorbing that liposome.
So should everything that we take be liposomal, do you think?
In terms of supplementation, I think that, a lot of things should be. It would be ideal if that was the case. I keep thinking about this and certain things that could really help. I mean, nowadays they're doing liposomal vitamin C and stuff, but see, there's other chaperones into the cell. There's sodium ascorbate connected to ribose, and as far as all the ones I've taken out there, have you ever taken Bioenergy C, Justin?
I have not. No, I've taken I've made liposomal vitamin C, and I've also taken a few different products. I've never taken that one, though. Okay.
I've taken the liposomal vitamin C. I've taken all the other versions of vitamin C, the, what is it, they call it the ester C, and...
Oh, right.
And food forms of vitamin C. The best food form of vitamin C I've ever taken is baobab fruit powder. That's the one that I noticed the most effect to the adrenals.
Oh, wow.
But the one that really gets into the body effectively, in fact, it's said that it's as effective or more effective than an IV of vitamin C, and that's this thing called Bioenergy C, because it has ribose attached to the sodium ascorbate, and because all of the cells of the body are needing ribose to maintain the structural integrity or the replication process of a new cell, because DNA is made of deoxyribose nucleic acid. So that means, 37 trillion cells all want ribose. So if you could put ribose attached to a nutrient, you're probably going to get a dramatic uptake as well, as in the case of the sodium ascorbate. It is the most effective vitamin C I've ever taken. I mean, you feel it. You get a little bit of an energy lift to a lot of an energy lift because of what it does to the adrenals, but it's highly antiviral. Anytime you get ascorbic acid into the body in high amounts, you kill off pathogens, you kill tumor cells, you energize your adrenals and, reduce inflammation. It's a winner product. So,
And do you get any issues with stomach or bowel intolerance?
You could. Yeah, if you took enough, you could get a little bit of the bowel intolerance. It just depends upon, usually that's the lower the dosage that creates bowel intolerance, the healthier you are.
Right.
Usually when you're struggling with some kind of a health challenge, there's a guy named Dr. Klenner that used to use IV vitamin C to cure polio 100% of the time when polio was in having its day in the 40s or so, and it never made the light of day.
No.
But just killing. The point is that when you have some kind of a severe infection or cancer or whatever, high dosages usually the body tolerates higher dosages because it's wanting more.
Yeah, you can take.
Bowel
it needs a lot more before you can start. So if you take a little bit of vitamin C and have a bowel intolerance, I used to take the actual ascorbic acid powder form, but man, the liposomal is so much better. And I'm wondering, is ribose? You said that's another delivery system into the cell. Is that considered a liposomal? Is that a liposome?
No, that's a sugar.
It's a sugar. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So with the liposomal vitamin C and liposomal supplements, typically, you can take so much more. You don't get that bowel intolerance because of that fat delivery. But with this one, is there the same issue with regular ascorbic acid powder?
No, because it's already buffered. So if it was just ascorbic acid, there's that tendency towards bowel intolerance because you're over-acidifying your intestinal tract, which, the body's naturally not going to like that. So the irritation causes you to bring water into the intestines and excrete things quickly out the bowels. But because it's buffered with sodium, you've neutralized the acidity of the ascorbic acid to a high degree. So there's that it's a mild effect.
Oh.
You would have to take, pretty large amounts probably to feel the bowel tolerance thing.
Yeah, vitamin C that stuff is powerful, isn't it? Powerful,
sure is.
Powerful
I mean,
stuff.
it's like just the fact that all these different infections that people deal with, MRSA and antibiotic-resistant bacteria and stuff, it's like they all get wiped out by vitamin C in high enough amounts, and in like 24 hours. I mean, you can just totally knock stuff out with that product.
We had a guy on the show a while back, and you probably know who he is, Dr. Andrew Saul, and he talks about high-dose vitamin therapy, and he was telling us a story of whenever he needs it, he'll put a little timer on the desk or on his watch, and he'll every 15 minutes he'll take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every 15 minutes until the thing's gone. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, that's because he's doing it that way because he's not aware of this product. You can do full 5 grams, 10 grams, 15 grams right out the gate.
Oh, wow.
And you probably be just fine because of the fact that it's buffered, and then just get the high dosages in your system and not be preoccupied with a clock or every 15 minutes or whatever. It's going to be in your system a little while in those dosages.
Is there an issue with going back a little bit to the pH and the acid-alkaline balance? You were just mentioning that the vitamin C is acidifying inside of the intestines and things, and that's why you create the water. You bring the water into the intestines, and you have
exactly it. That's what I just alluded to or said.
Yeah.
Was that because of the acidity of ascorbic acid, you are irritating the intestinal pH system so that it's no longer in its ideal. It's too acidic. It's an irritation, and that's why you get watery, loose stools. So
it's important to use it when you need it, but not use it maybe all the time for that reason?
No, it's important to use it all the time because of your need for it for the adrenals, because we don't produce it, and we live a high-stress lifestyle, and there's a lot of free radicals and a lot of toxicity we're exposed to in the environment and air. So a regular daily, 1 teaspoon twice a day type of thing of this kind of vitamin C, the buffered kind that's got the ribose, because those are two factors that are going to protect you from the loose stools. A buffered vitamin C protects you from upsetting the pH of your gut, and the ribose ensures that you uptake it virtually 100%. Because the irritation thing is kind of like you're not absorbing some of it. Your body's trying to excrete that. So ideally you want to absorb it and not create the bowel tolerance problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. I never heard of ribose as a delivery system. That's fascinating. Is it a brand new product?
No, it's been out for years.
Wow. Why haven't I heard of that? I've heard of liposomal, but I never know what kind of lipid they use either.
Liposomal is usually non-GMO soy.
Oh, is it?
Derived lecithin.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, interesting. So when we are overly... How does acid-alkaline balance in the blood, for example, affect the remineralization of the bones in people and women with osteoporosis?
Good question. So when our blood pH is supposed to be 7.35, 7.45, very narrow window of fluctuation, because basically that's what's going to determine your ability to grab oxygen out of your blood, out of your lungs, and deliver it to all parts of the body. pH and oxygen go hand in hand. So an acid pH is something that will lower your oxygen carrying capacity and lower your oxygen levels, and an alkaline pH will increase your oxygen carrying capacity and your oxygen levels. So the blood has to stay in that narrow window to do its job, and so the body's entire regulatory biochemical regulation is completely around the blood pH. So a person drinking a soda pop, which is an acidic drink, eating white sugar, which turns to an acid in the system, doing anything which is acidifying, that's an alarming acidification, or say chronically eating, meats, cooked meats without enough alkaline vegetable juices or alkaline foodstuffs in the diet, will tend to cause this emergency situation to happen in the body, where your body produces calcitonin. You start to dissolve your bones to release the calcium that is within the bones to fuel and support an alkaline blood pH so that you don't die. So literally a pH regulation, a pH variation in the blood of very few degrees one way or another, and you could die. And the people have heard of diabetic acidosis, where people that are diabetics don't regulate their pH very well at all. They tend to become too acidic, and they can go into a coma and die because of this blood going acidic problem. And of course, that's an extreme situation. But point is that people need to be aware and not violate their natural the laws of how the body works, because it's going to cause them to lose their bone mass, and the body basically will use the alkaline proteins and the alkaline minerals to keep the pH of the blood in that narrow window. So I believe, though I don't have any scientific proof of this, I believe this is part of the picture, that you will literally wear away, eat away at the cartilage and your discs and your bones, in other factors as well. There's different blood proteins and things like albumin, but basically you will eat away at all those things. As a result of staying chronically acidic, your body will do its best to not take too much from one tissue system so that you don't experience your body not working or breaking down in one area. But over time, this will result in that osteoporosis. And, of course, osteoporosis is going to cause you to lose your gums will recede. Once you become osteoporotic in your jawbone, the gums will recede. Now you're going to have loose teeth. Now you're going to start to lose your teeth. So literally maintaining the proper pH and taking the proper nutrients so that your body's regularly making new bone and dissolving old bone ensures that you keep your gums, keep your teeth, never lose your teeth, never have to have dentures, never have to have a hip fracture, never have to have arthritis and deterioration or destruction of your joints, never have to have thinning of your discs. They're all connected. And so really, really valuable to keep your pH alkaline all the time and take the right nutrients. And then as far as women and their tendency towards osteoporosis after they've gone through menopause, that's because women, when they cease to produce the optimal levels of estrogen in their body, estrogen plays a role, much like vitamin D, in ensuring that you are absorbing calcium and producing, possibly producing osteocalcin, which is a bone protein.
It's so interesting. I wonder if that has an effect. So you talked about like the different organ systems, and you talked about the bones and the cartilage. I wonder if it has anything to do also with the skin. I wonder if it's pulling things from the skin, and that's why when you get older you get wrinkles and things like that. I wonder if there's a connection.
It is. It's all basically any alkaline protein that can donate. I mean, basically, this is the other thing that's fascinating, is that one of the other reasons why there's anemia is because the body, before it goes into the bones and stuff, it's going to partly use alkaline amino acids. So we've got arginine, lysine, and histidine. Histidine being the main one. Okay, so these amino acids are naturally found in the protein structure of hemoglobin in the blood cells. So what ends up happening is that when people are chronically acidic, or just temporarily in an emergency situation acidic, is the body will sacrifice a lot of red blood cells to free up the histidine, arginine, and lysine, because they're capable of absorbing a hydrogen atom, which is to say neutralizing an acid. And this is the reason why the main reason why there's so much anemia. Even they call it iron deficiency anemia, but it's really not iron deficiency anemia. It's a deficiency of iron because you don't have enough red blood cells, but it's not because of a deficiency of iron, it's because of an acid pH causing red blood cell sacrifice. And that's where that product Protovite comes in, because when you start taking it, it starts correcting this conversion of glucose into ATP, making less lactic acid, so your pH starts being regulated, and people start becoming, you could say, their anemia can go away as a result of that being fixed.
Yeah, it's important to word that correctly. Yeah, interesting. It's so fascinating, this whole acid alkaline issue in our culture. So many women, I don't even know, I haven't looked at the numbers, but my goodness, osteoporosis and osteopenia for women is like the biggest issue that they have once they reach, after menopause. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably other things too that are up there too. I mean, cancer's pretty high, breast cancer and all that too. And but yeah, it's pretty high up there, and you can prevent it for sure. You can even reverse it. I've had Pam Bagley as a client of ours that had osteopenia years ago, 2012. I got her on a supplement program. It all reversed. She got x-rays to prove it. I had a lady working for me years ago who had osteoporosis of her spinal column, x-rays, and also thinning of her disc. So she was having pinched sciatica nerves. She had a lot of pain. She was on Darvon. But she was also, not conscious on her diet, so she was consuming Coca-Cola. So I told her, hey, get off the Coca-Cola, get on this coral calcium, get on this cod liver oil, and get on this product, Synergy One. So she did. In 4 months, she had no more pain. X-rays showed that her discs had thickened and her osteoporosis had partially reversed. And that enabled her to go on to have a kid, because prior to that, the doctors told her she could never have children with her condition because the weight of carrying a baby could further push down on her spinal nerves coming out of her sciatica nerves and basically cut them off and cripple her.
Jeez.
So she was very happy at the result of that.
Yeah, golly, to have, and I'm not sure how old she is or was, but I mean, to be in childbearing age and having all of these issues, that's pretty young, right? That's crazy. Yeah,
that's a result of a Coca-Cola lifestyle.
You know what? How many people, I see so many people drinking Coke, and it just scares me to death of those acids in that Coke and the genetically modified corn syrup, and sitting in that tin can and the high heat and the sugars. Oh gosh.
Well, the tin can and the high heat and the sugar, that's all about sucralose or aspartame. So aspartame in the high heat turns into methanol and basically wood alcohol.
Really?
So, yeah, you can't, that's formaldehyde basically. Your body can't metabolize that toxin very well, so you can create a severe toxic crisis as a result of drinking a diet soda. It's been in the sun very long because of that creation of that toxic chemical.
So it's like a derivative or some kind of form of formaldehyde, similar to that?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Wow.
So
that is crazy. So yeah, I've known people that, their email address was something about Pepsi because they would drink, like 10 Pepsis a day or something like that. And she subsequently died of cancer, a friend of our family's. And, golly, you talk about the people that drink these things and with their bone osteoporosis and things. It's just, how could it be worth it?
Yeah, it's just really sad that we live in a culture where corporations and government want us to actually be dumb, and they want us to be ill. And so they encourage and support companies that put out these kinds of toxic substances, toxic foods, toxic sweeteners, and don't do their regulatory function as an FDA, as the FDA should do. The FDA, if they were truly the altruistic organization that they're supposedly,
Right.
the title of their services, then they would go after companies that are producing products that are actually unhealthful to consume.
Right. Yeah, it's so sad. It's so interesting, though, too. You see some people, I know people that are in their 90s and they're drinking Coca-Cola. I've seen them do it, and it just blows my mind. And I often think, Kate and I will look at each other and go, oh my gosh, how could that person be drinking that and eating basically like they're a little child, right? All these sugary drinks and things.
Yeah.
And then I say to her, well, imagine if that person's like 95 and they're still drinking Coke. Imagine if they had taken care of themselves their whole life. Imagine what kind of shape they could be in.
Yeah. A lot of times when people say, oh gosh, look at this 100-year-old person that's drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes and whatever, what they don't realize is that it's not a statement that it doesn't matter what you eat. It's a statement that that person was born at a time when people were still agrarian, they were still farmers, and they still had fertile soil, and so all the foods that the parents ate were always nutrient-rich and all the minerals, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, things that are needed. And so the genetic material of the sperm and the ovum that came together to create conception were extremely healthy and perfect, and then gestation was perfect, and people were breastfed in those days. And so it's just like, basically you've got the example of the Cadillac versus the VW Bug, you know? It's like, which one is built stronger to last longer? It's basically they can both, the Cadillac can withstand more abuse than the Volkswagen or whatever, VW Bug, just because of how it's built. The same thing with the human body. If you've got a genetically strong body, then you can abuse it for long periods of time before you see any significant deterioration. But just as you said, if the person wasn't ignoring natural laws and understood that there's a biological law that they should live by with their food and their drink, then if they did live according to that more healthful way of living, then rather than looking like a worn-out, wrinkled, unhealthy 100-year-old, they'd actually be quite still viable and pretty strong and probably pretty clear, because that's the way the Hunzaland people are. The Hunzaland people live to be 120 to 140. That means that the men over age 100 are still playing rugby and having sex and having kids.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's so cool. It's such a different way of thinking too, because I always think, instead of what can I get away with in this life, and can I get away with eating this piece of cake, or can I get away with eating this piece of pizza? I'm always thinking more along the lines of, how far can we take this? How far can we go? How healthy can we be? How long can we live? And does our current diet or supplement program support and foster that kind of a direction? And I rather than thinking, oh gosh, I could have a piece of pizza, it wouldn't do anything to me. But why, I just don't think of it like that. I think of like, what is the precipice, and how far can you take human potential? How far can we go? What can we be? I'd rather think of it like that. It's a lot more fun. Yeah, that's a good thing, and that's a lot more healthy way to look at it. We need people to have that mindset, because it's like the human family isn't experiencing being a family until you could say, out of the fear of survival. So, you have to, the whole culture in which we live doesn't support that. But if we actually had altruistic leaders, if we actually had spiritually oriented people who understood psychology and, used it correctly in their personal lives and, demonstrated a way to live both psychologically and physically that's constructive and beneficial to themselves and their fellow man, then you have a nurturing environment in which the culture is basically enjoying each other and everybody's contribution, and it's a fun place. And part of that is that you're honoring natural law, and you're actually, realizing that there's a design for the body and what it's supposed to live on, just like an animal. It's just like if people would just use their minds, this great, computer brain you've got, and think, instead of getting stuck in your emotional comfort zones of whatever you were raised with, and this addiction you have to whatever. Look at the way the animals live. It's like, if you're raising animals for food, be it cows or goats or sheep or whatever, they require specific nutrients all the time. Otherwise, you cannot raise those animals. They couldn't breed properly. Their reproduction would go down. They'd require veterinarian bills. The farmer couldn't produce a profit because veterinarian costs are so high. So they know that they have to have all these vitamins, minerals, and amino acids and nutrients in all their feed in order to ensure that reproduction is correct and that they're correct and healthy and have offspring in a healthy manner. It's no different for a human being than it is for any other animal. And yet somehow we think we can live outside that. I mean, you can't give donuts and or sugar and these kinds of completely junk food items to animals. They would die. They get sick very quickly. Yeah. No, it's so true. I was just reading something, speaking of sugar, just the other day. I'm sure you've heard these numbers before, but I think around the year 1900, we were consuming about 4 pounds of sugar a year. And now we're consuming, I think, 160 pounds or something of sugar per year. And it's just, my goodness, like no wonder why we have so many health issues.
Yeah, and
Crazy.
people, like I said, the regulatory agencies don't do anything. The FDA doesn't do anything to step in. They allow it, they encourage it, and if you allow children to feed on that in schools, which they do, then your IQ goes down. You can't, you don't have an attention span. You don't actually absorb information and retain it really well. Which, I mean, it just snowballs into, people that are not able to achieve their potential and not be able to be a true blessing to society because they literally couldn't access their full mental capabilities, so they couldn't become a skilled whatever,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's something about when you take care of yourself and you supplement correctly, you eat the right diet, you exercise, you're doing your mission in the world, you're happy, you're in a good relationship, things are going good. I mean, things are going to go up and down for everybody, but when you're maintaining the foundation of your life on these physical health principles, you're meditating, you're on a spiritual practice, you're doing all these things, it's hard not to be healthy and feel good and to be feeling like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing here on this earth. And it really, a lot of it starts with taking care of the physical, I don't even like to call it a machine, the physical matrix of the human body. It starts there. And then, at least in my life, starting there and then moving out to the spiritual side, from that. But as a foundation, taking care of yourself physically is just huge.
It is. And the other thing I was going to say is that a lot of times, even in our day and age, because of vaccines we've had, because of chemtrails that sometimes have organisms in them, they've been tested to have tuberculosis sometimes in some of the chemtrail droppings, and all these different factors, there is a high propensity for us to be burdened with viruses that shouldn't be in our bodies. We don't have a strong enough immune system to actually eradicate them, so they stay there, continuing to produce their acids and their toxins that pollute our bodies. So one of the things that can actually prevent the person from achieving ideal health is the presence of Epstein-Barr, herpes, cytomegalo, herpesviruses. There's a bunch of different herpesviruses that exist that wreak havoc with human health that shouldn't be in our bodies, but because of a lot of a lot of negative things that have happened in our culture, we have them. So, you could be doing the best of diet and still struggle with an acid pH until you eradicate the viruses. So a lot of times people say, well, I ate perfect, and I drink green vegetable juice and take alkaline-forming foods and stuff, and I still have an acid pH. It says, okay, well, that's probably because you have viruses that you need to get rid of that you're not knowing how to. So you have to take antivirals to knock down their population, and, I work with different things to do that. Mm-hmm. And then when they're I think the best thing, I'll just mention it, that I found over the years to reduce the viral population in the body to where it's not interfering with your life so much is the Andreas black cumin seed oil. That can make a big difference in your health and energy dramatically. And then when that's done, then you can have less acid toxins produced from these organisms because they're in a smaller population. You start to feel better because these toxins are no longer bathing your brain, causing you to feel unfocused or depressed or whatever. And then you take the proper supplements to make up for what's not in the food. What Carrie Reams taught is that because of soil demineralization, that we are lacking not only trace minerals, which thanks to Joel Wallach, he really heralded that subject and introduced us to that subject through Dead Doctors Don't Lie and stuff. Mm-hmm. He did great work. But also mostly we're missing calcium. See, when you look at the actual ratio of mineral needs of plant, animals, and humans, 80% of the mineral needs of both plant animals and humans is calcium, and 20% is the other elements.
Interesting.
So that's the biggest missing piece. And the liver, there's an interesting study that was done on cows. When the cows are fed alfalfa that's grown on mineral-rich soil, and when you have, and I'm talking about calcium-rich as well, mm-hmm. then the Brix level, which is the sugar mineral reading of the juice of the alfalfa, goes up. So it went up to I think it was 12 or 14 or something was the Brix reading of the alfalfa juice, and they could feed those cows nothing but alfalfa hay or alfalfa feed, and they would produce, and they would only 10 pounds of it was like 10 pounds of grain, and they would produce 100 pounds of milk.
Wow.
Whereas when they fed the cows a low Brix alfalfa, which is to say low calcium alfalfa, down to the level of only 8 on the Brix reading, mm-hmm. then the cows needed an additional 50 pounds or so of grain in addition to the alfalfa hay that they got, to be able to produce the same 100 pounds of milk. So what that says is that the liver is the organ that produces a good percentage of the protein in the body. So your body takes amino acids from your foodstuffs and it brings it to the liver. The liver produces albumin. Albumin then moves through the blood to all different tissue systems to cause repair to all different tissue systems via the liver's production of albumin. And
that's how protein is being created?
That's one of the main mechanisms. There's other mechanisms too,
interesting.
But that's one of them.
Wow.
So the point is that when you have the calcium-rich vegetables in your diet, which they aren't really calcium-rich anymore, then you're giving your liver the calcium that it needs to more efficiently produce protein. It needs calcium to produce protein. So the point is that when the cow could produce that much milk on a calcium-rich alfalfa and needed a supplemental amount of grain to make up the same amount of milk, that point is that that's because of the liver. The liver of the first group of cows was more efficiently producing protein from the calcium present in the alfalfa, and because there was so little calcium in the second group of cows, alfalfa, they needed more actual outside source protein in the form of concentrated grain to produce the same quantity of milk, which of course was of an inferior quantity because of the way grains increase the omega-6 fatty acid levels that you preferably would prefer it be not that, it be more omega-3 and 6. So point is that when you take calcium supplementation correctly, you're not just regulating pH, you're feeding your liver the calcium that it needs to become more efficient at albumin protein production, which can reduce your physical protein requirements in your diet. This is a theory that I have is that if we lived a Garden of Eden type of life and the ecosystem was more of an Edenic type state, I think that humans would naturally be able to thrive more on vegetarianism because the foods would have these naturally higher calcium and protein levels in the vegetarian foodstuffs. And their liver would be so efficient at protein synthesis from them that we might be able to be 100% exclusive healthy vegetarian without any consequence, and in fact only higher levels of intelligence and actual energy and more of a spiritual awareness. But because of the failure to live in that ideal ecosystem and our bodies being less efficient at producing this albumin protein in higher amounts, we need therefore a higher concentrated source of protein in the diet to compensate, which is why there's a preponderance of the human civilization needing to eat animal proteins to feel like they're functioning normally.
Yeah, I mean, they say, at least in the workout and the bodybuilding things, they say, what is it, a gram of protein or something for every half pound?
Yeah, a gram of protein for every pound of weight.
Yeah, so that's a lot of protein, isn't it?
You can handle it. It's just a matter of compensating with the alkalinization you need and supporting your kidneys and stuff, and it can be done healthfully. It's not a big risk factor.
We had a doctor on a while back, and I'm curious to get your thoughts about this. And he was talking about, I forget who he was. Gosh, this was like a year or so ago, but he was talking, it really struck me. He was talking about the acid-alkaline balance and bones and all that kind of stuff. And what he was talking about was something called biological transmutation, which I know you're familiar with. Yeah. And he was talking about how the biggest minerals that he's found in order to build bones in women were no, it wasn't calcium. Calcium was derived, he said, from biological transmutation of magnesium and silica, which then created the calcium. And the calcium was more for like an alkaline buffer so that it could assist your blood from not having to pull calcium from the bone. So it wasn't necessarily like calcium is in the bones, therefore we need to consume calcium. But he was saying silica and magnesium, and then there's this biological transmutation happening with calcium. But he was saying that it's not necessarily calcium itself that's responsible for, bones, because he went on about, the bones being flexible in babies, and when you get older, they get more, they get much harder and calcified. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's just that the thing is that it's already been proven in my practice and elsewhere that, it's the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, and K2 that are really responsible for bone growth. And that's why Weston A. Price's work was kind of a spotlight on a topic that was still heretofore not defined. And so he identified the violet color chemical reaction when he took butter from grass-fed cows during the spring or summer months when the grass was growing the fastest. The chemical reaction with what he did. The chemicals he used to react with the butter showed the violet chemical hue with that, and also with cod liver oil. So he called it the X factor because he didn't know what it was. Now we know it was vitamin K2, and it was in combination naturally in that butter and cod liver oil with vitamin A and D. And those three fat-soluble vitamins work as a symphony to cause a lot of things happening beneficially to the body.
Wow. So is that like vitamin A, vitamin D3, and K2?
Yeah.
D3, yeah, because I know a lot of people talk about D2 and D3, but it's D3 and K2.
Yeah, it's D2, D3. Your body takes D3 and then has to run it through the kidneys to convert it into calcitriol to make active vitamin D, but nonetheless, you've got that precursor for it. So you take those three fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin D will activate the production of bone absorbing, or I should say calcium absorbing proteins in the intestines, so you absorb calcium better. Partially activates bone protein production, and then vitamin A will cause the activation of the osteoclasts, and those are the bone cells that dissolve bone. So the body has to always remodel itself. The bones have to always remodel themselves. They have to always be reabsorbing old bone and replacing it with new bone, because if you just have old bone always staying there, it becomes brittle. And that's the problem with Fosamax and these other drug versions of making the bones dense, is that they will prevent bone loss, which increases bone density, but results in brittle bones.
I see. So a simple fall could snap a hip or an arm or something.
Exactly.
So even though it's dense, it's brittle. That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what was I going to say?
Vitamin A causes the osteoclast to activate bone dissolving, reabsorbing of old bone, and when that happens, all this old bone protein gets into the bloodstream called osteocalcin, and that osteocalcin is in its uncarboxylated state. Vitamin K2 activates the carboxylation and creation of osteocalcin bone protein. So it's the big missing piece, and it also activates matrix GLA protein, which that's what forms calcium, proper calcium deposition and removal of calcium that's in the soft tissues. So people that have, like, as you age and you get calcification of the tissues, because they're lacking in vitamin K2, they would activate the matrix GLA protein to remove soft tissue calcium that's not supposed to be there, to keep the tissues pliable, soft, and functional. And it's also responsible for how wide your jawbone is.
Really?
This gets back to this is what gets back to Weston A. Price's discovery. He noticed that when people ate these fat-soluble vitamins in their diet, in all these different cultures that he went to throughout the world, that they had wide jawbones, no crowded teeth, they had wide nostrils, they had very strong constitutions, very healthy, happy people in general, mentally very happy people.
Interesting.
And so come forward in time, and you have a narrowing of the jawbone in our culture, so that more people are born with V-shaped jawbones in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, so that you don't see the wide jawbone. It's a rarity, and when you do, usually that person's, you can see the person's face is beautiful. It goes hand in hand that you're getting proper jawbone and facial development when you do this vitamin K2 in the diet. During gestation, you're going to get this child development of this ideal wide jawbone, ideal facial development. The face is going to be beautiful, but it also means that the cranium capacity is going to be ideal too, so you're going to get ideal brain development. So it's going to be an increase in intelligence as well.
Wow. So how much K2 are you seeing women take during gestation?
I like for women to get on the product that we carry called K2 Plus. It has 5,000 IUs of A, 5,000 IUs of D, and 500 micrograms of K2.
Now, K2, we did a...
Minoquinone 7, not minoquinone 4.
Okay.
Minoquinone 4 is weaker, and you need a much, much higher level. And that's the kind of... Minoquinone 4 is what's found in the butter and the cod liver oil and the animal fats. The minoquinone 7 that comes from things like natto from soy, or it's made via the natto and it's put into a pill, is much more effective, much more powerful, and need much smaller amounts. So This product called K2 Plus, 1 to 2 of those a day will give that woman all that she needs to have that wide jawbone, excellent brain development, beautiful face, strong body, excellent health development. Those 3 fat-soluble vitamins play the biggest key role in ensuring that body is going to be healthy, because people are already consuming animal proteins, animal fats, vitamins, minerals, or they may not be getting all their minerals and all their vitamins. They still should take supplemental trace minerals like Mineral Magic or Liquimin, and they should still take supplemental calcium because, women notoriously go into postpartum depression. They notoriously have morning sickness. In my practice, I've had 2 women report to me that their morning sickness completely went away just by drinking alkaline ionized water, meaning that morning sickness is a result of a fetus growing inside of her womb that is developing its skeleton in its body, and because the nutrients aren't being supplied from the diet readily because the person is relying only on food and not supplements, this leads to the woman waking up in the morning with such an acid pH because all that alkalinity was taken to grow the baby that she has this nauseating acidity factor going on. And if she just strongly alkalizes, all that nausea goes away, and if a woman is taking the right supplements throughout her pregnancy, then she will have no depletion to her own glandular integrity and health, so that she will have normal glandular hormonal output, neurotransmitter levels, so she will have ideal energy and ideal mood after birth if she just did the right supplements and the right diet.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've heard over the years about the mineral deficiencies in women and how it causes a thinner jaw and a more narrow jaw, and also the formation of the teeth and all of that stuff. But it makes total sense. Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that about the K2 because I was going to ask you. We did a whole show on K2 with I think she's a doctor. I'm not sure. Kate Rayon Blue.
Yeah, Rayon Blue. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's great. And I forget she made a big distinction about the different types of K2. So that's cool that you covered that. So that's the good kind that you're using in your product there.
Yeah, the minoquinone 7 is the strongest variety. Yeah. And then the thing I said to this before, but it's always exciting to repeat because somebody didn't hear it before, is that free osteocalcin bone protein that came out of the bone dissolution process, it's free in the bloodstream, causes a improvement in insulin production and insulin sensitivity. So it's phenomenal to prevent diabetes or help a diabetic. And it's also for men uniquely able to stimulate some receptor within their testes, because their testosterone will go up much higher. Mine went up much higher when I took this product. And I can tell you that I've taken other K2 supplements before, and I never had this effect. Taking this one was phenomenal in terms of the measurable level of increase in testosterone was pretty pronounced.
Wow, just from the K2, you think?
Yeah, well, but what I'm saying is the 3 fat-soluble vitamins together, that's what did it. Because I've taken A, I've taken D, I've taken K2, but never in a symphony altogether. All 3 together caused this dramatic increase in testosterone.
It's interesting. A lot of people will say, a lot of purists, and gosh, I forget I think it's the natural hygienists. I think they'll say that, we don't need supplements, we don't need this or that. But I just find that, like you were talking about before, how far we've come in our culture from living in sort of like the Garden of Eden type of lifestyle. And, our culture is so mineral deficient. And so if there's ever a time, I think that, somebody should be on a supplement, I think it would be during pregnancy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and before, because if you look at the actual photos in Weston A. Price's book, you'll see the before photos and the after photos with regards to families. And so you've got the families that, were raising their kids on their traditional indigenous diet, what they traditionally ate in their cultures, and the kids were healthy, born on that diet. Then they introduced the Western civilized foods, the bread, the sugar, the canned, the pre-prepared, pre-packaged, refined stuff. And the next child they have is shorter, narrow jawbone, narrow nostrils, and physical deformities sometimes. So it's been proven in that. And then if you look at, Herbert M. Shelton, that sort of like started the natural hygiene movement, that's a 1940s topic. So, 1940s was when we still had decent soil. I mean, you didn't have really a significant demineralization of the soil until chemical agriculture, which started after World War II, after 1945. So, when you talk about agriculture and then you talk about an increasing level of pollution in our culture, from radioactivity to, negative EMFs and microwave radiations to, heavy metals in the air and car exhaust and things and stressors and stuff, and then more refined foods than ever that people are born and raised on. Oh my God, the person that doesn't embrace supplementation, I'm sorry for them. They don't realize they're shortening their life, they're reducing the quality of their life. I mean, if you can go through, most people expect in our culture to get 1 or more colds or flus every single year. I think that's completely abnormal. if you're totally taking care of your body the way you're supposed to or the way that we're designed to, proper supplementation, good diet, then you won't have any cold flu ever.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
You know, Stephen, I wanted to ask you, I'm just curious about the acid alkaline thing, and going back to that, I'm just so curious about this idea that, you know, is it possible that have you worked with people that do all the right things from a diet perspective? Maybe they take supplements, maybe they don't. But man, you see people and they've got so much fear and anxiety and toxic, acidic thoughts. And I wonder, the stress on people, just the stress alone, trying to make your mortgage, trying to pay your bills and take the kids here and there. I mean, I've never looked under a microscope. I've never done any work with people. I don't know, but I would suspect that would have an influence on your pH of your body. Yes, it does. It does, right?
I'd say it's like, you know, and I can speak from personal experience. So I've had extremely stressful life, from 2 raids by the FDA to very heartbreaking relationship stuff happened to being completely falsely accused of things that weren't true. You know, just completely social, mental stress that doesn't just go away overnight, that you have to work on. You have to work on your thinking. You have to work on getting it right. You have to meditate. And so I can speak from experience that my body I know, and I also have had a viral infection that I keep at bay, but before I knew how to keep it at bay, it was eating me up alive. No matter how good I ate, no matter what supplements I take, I still lacked the quality of life that I knew my body could have. And I know that one day, when and if that day comes that I can get rid of those viruses 100%, I know my quality of life will improve even that much more. So you're right. The thoughts are a big factor, and then the viruses or organisms that nobody's talking about is another big factor that both contribute to chronic acidification, so that even if you're eating perfectly and taking good supplements, you're still struggling.
Yeah. And viruses are interesting because viruses aren't necessarily even alive, are they?
I don't know about that. They say that scientifically, but
yeah,
there's a lot of things scientifically that actually logically sound correct, but actually then looking in the real world, it just doesn't line up. You know, in the real world, if a virus can metabolize and produce toxins, which it does, then that's physical movement. That's biochemical transformation.
Right.
So, and the fact that it can insert itself into your DNA and cause it to pair itself up, to replicate itself up, to duplicate itself based on your DNA in your body or your RNA means that, to me, that means it has intelligence. Just because it doesn't have, you could say, it's like this. They say that the cell is a living thing because it has a cell membrane and a nucleus, you know, and then the same thing with the fungi, a membrane and nucleus, but the virus doesn't have that. Well, neither do prions, neither do somatids. They don't have a membrane, they don't have a nucleus or anything, but guess what? You look at the work of you know, Antoine Béchamp, of Gunther Enderlein, of Gaston Naessens, of Royal Rife, and they proved under microscopic analysis that this benign protein that exists in simply a particle state evolves into virus, fungus, and bacteria in your body.
That's interesting. Okay.
So, okay, well, that means that just because it doesn't have a nucleus and a membrane doesn't mean that it's not alive. Obviously, it's alive, or it couldn't evolve into these different states dependent upon the pH and the nutrient terrain that it's got.
Yeah, something's going on beyond science there with viruses, isn't there? It's fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about pregnancy for women. I know it's such a huge issue, and it's like one of those things where I wish that all women would take the most incredible care of themselves during the time that they're pregnant, because if we have a healthy population, anything's possible. Exactly.
Thank you. That's brilliant. Think about it. If you have a healthy population with super high IQ, super, phenomenal brain capacity, where they're not using just 2% of their brain, they're using maybe 15 or 20% of their brain, then literally through their intelligence, they could outsmart, outwit the cabal, the bad guys, and we could have actually a kind of a restoration of a free society, a constitutional republic.
Wouldn't that be amazing? That would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, so women, to ensure that they have super healthy children that aren't going to need braces, that aren't going to need glasses, that aren't going to need to have any kind of, they're not going to have any learning disabilities. They're going to have super high IQ, easy learning abilities. In fact, they'll be the smartest in their class unless all the other mothers and fathers did the same thing they did.
Mm-hmm.
So people will be looking up to them. They'll be the leaders. They'll be the tutors. That would be that ideally, the way this is done to ensure that you conceive and gestate a healthy human being, free of birth defects, free of limitations, beautiful body, beautiful face, happy human being, the mother and the father must do preconception nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Because 50% of the genetic material to create a human being comes from the father's sperm, to ensure that the father's sperm is not genetically damaged or deficient and or passing on weak genetics from the father, that father should be on the same supplements that the mother is.
Okay.
So that's the vitamin A, D, and K2, which is the K2 Plus product that we carry. That's taking a full spectrum trace mineral supplements such as Liquimin, which is an easy liquid product. You put it in juice. People tell me how great they feel. Or there's a powdered product very similar called Mineral Magic. Teaspoon of that every day in your water or just straight in the morning. And then you would need supplemental calcium, which would be Intracal, to ensure that you're getting it. I'll qualify that in saying if you're consuming raw milk from cows or goats, then the calcium supplementation may not be necessary. If you're not consuming that, definitely take something called Intracal to get the calcium magnesium you're going to need. Then also take supplemental cod liver oil. Dropi brand cod liver oil is what we like from Iceland because that's going to get you a low oxidation, highly fresh, highly alive, viable cod liver oil that doesn't cause burping because it's not oxidized. And that's going to give the DHA, EPA needed for proper neuron development. And
what is the name of that product again?
DROPI, Dropi cod liver oil.
Okay. Do you guys sell that, or is that available on their website?
Yeah, no, that's on our website. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
Yeah. So those, and then let's see. That's the most important ones, and then probably, actually, I would recommend still some essential fatty acids from seed oil. So I'd recommend either an omega-3 source of either our Andreas seed oils, either the flax seed oil from Andreas, or the pumpkin, or the hemp seed.
Mm-hmm.
Either of those are going to have omega-3, and then another omega. You can take another omega-6 source if you want, but some omega-6 is in those oils already. So those seed oils are going to provide for cell membrane wall development. And then dietary proteins, fruits and vegetables, animal proteins that are organic, pasture-raised, hormone antibiotic-free, the eggs and whatever and all that. That's all fine. And then that's what the father and mother, that they want to have a kid, they're planning this, right? So now they're preparing their bodies where they eat this way for, say, at least 30 days and maybe longer, 2 months, the longer the better, to ensure that all the sperm that he's carrying have got this new healthy genetic code because now all the nutrients are there. And her ovum, the same thing, all the nutrients are there. So instead of passing on genetic weaknesses, the body's going to make ovum without those genetic weaknesses, or the sperm is going to be made without any genetic weaknesses. It's going to be free of them. So then they get together, they conceive, and then she has to take this forward by continuing to consume those same supplements that will ensure that she has enough nutrients and the baby is going to have enough nutrients so that she's not being stolen from as the baby develops, leading to all the depletion and the postpartum depression, fatigue problems that women experience after they give birth. But instead, their glands and their whole bodies still fully functional, fully intact because they were taking enough supplements to compensate for the development of a second human being in their womb. And then when that all takes place with the proper diet, she gives birth easily. And this is something that's fascinating, but a woman should develop her uterus as muscle. And so ideally that muscle is so strong that she can give birth within literally 2 contractions. That's possible. Now, just to give you an example, if you're really into this and you really, love the idea of this perfect, supreme human being, healthy human being, high IQ,
right.
One of the things I learned along the way was that Ogenus, the man that taught about the raw meat diet that cured him of his diabetes and bone cancer, doing raw meats and raw vegetable juices, he then, made this very popular through his book and teaching a lot of people around the world. Uh-huh. And there were quite a few case histories of women that adopted this diet during their pregnancy. So they're eating raw steak, they're eating raw eggs, they're drinking raw milk, they're eating raw cheese. Maybe they're going to take some raw fish and make it into ceviche or eat raw fish. Or you can make ceviche of poultry products too, which is to say marinate them in lime or lemon juice or vinegar so that they're actually converted into a sort of an acid-cooked meat that's not heat-cooked but acid-cooked. And so these kinds of, with proper preparation, you can make these things fairly palatable. And because the proteins are not denatured, and the amino acids are not denatured, making up those proteins, there's such a high degree of utilization by the body of these non-denatured. And what that means, just so people understand, amino acids, the 20 amino acids that make up all proteins in nature and in the human body, occur in a specific shape or geometry that nature gave them. Heating will bend and twist a large percentage of those amino acids into shapes the body cannot use. That's called a denatured amino acid. It's a bent, twisted amino acid. So the body looks at it as a toxin that it cannot use, that it has to excrete. And so if you don't have that in the way, if you're just consuming proteins in their raw state where they're not denatured, then there's such a high efficiency of utilization without any waste and burden on the body to excrete them or causing inflammation or whatever, that the uterus becomes very, very strong, such that it's been very consistent for women to give birth in only 2 contractions. So that means that their whole pelvis is they're producing enough, I think it's called, I know they produce oxytocin, and I think it might be oxytocin or some other hormone that causes their pelvic area to relax and soften, their cartilage joints to soften so that their pelvis widens, and that their uterus is so strong that it can contract and give birth in 2 contractions. So that's an exception to the rule. I mean, you don't hear that. Women usually labor for, a long time before they can actually give birth, and that's why they have to go to the hospital and stuff. So if a woman wants to take it that far, she wants to upgrade her body and the next generation, she might want to entertain looking into that subject a little bit. And if it's too unpalatable, you might want to consider just searing the meat so that it's cooked on both sides but raw in the middle, so you got some of that palatability of the cooked, but some of the raw too.
That's fascinating. We did the show with Augenis before he moved on to bigger and better things on episode 73, if people are interested in listening to him talk about raw meat. But there was a study done a long time ago, and I forget where. I feel like it was somewhere in Europe. I can't remember the name, but they're basically talking about how in order to get the correct amount of protein when you cook, and I don't know what they meant by cooking, but they were saying basically that when you cook meat, you lose about 50% of the protein. So you have to eat double the amount, which is...
I've read that. I've read that.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's like, I read statistics that say it might be up to 75%. It really all depends, Justin, on how much you cook it and what temperature you cook it at. Lower the temperature, the better. That's why when you cook with water, it's much better because you can only go to 212 degrees and no higher, and dry heat cooking goes up to 350 or higher. And so there's much more denaturing the higher the temperature you go. So and that's why if you look at animals in nature, the wild animals, dogs and cats in the wild, eat only raw, food they kill. They have no degenerative diseases. But you look at domesticated dogs and cats, they eat cooked foods, the kibble or the cooked meats that are in the can. They suffer the same disease as humans do. So there's a definite correlation here. There's enough science, there's enough studies that have been done to show that there's a lot of validity to this. And for those of us that struggle for ideal health, who want better health or want to ensure a super healthy child, this is something to consider playing around with.
And the good thing, too, about all of that is that the mom is going to have ample amount of breast milk, I would imagine, after all of that in order to feed the child correctly. Yeah,
in fact, that's Augenis taught that. He said that when a woman ate this way and she gave birth this way, her milk was so rich that she could nurse her child at in the evening, and it could sleep through the entire night. That's unheard of. Normally, children will get up through the night, need to be fed. The milk that they're giving the child is too thin. It's not nutrient dense enough. Doesn't have enough fat. Doesn't have protein. Whatever. So the child's hungry within a short period of time. So it's a big deal to do this with regards to the quality of the milk the woman will produce. It's going to make sure this child is super. And I don't know if he told you this in the interview that you did with him, but one of the other stories that I heard that was fascinating was that the story of two children. One was raised by parents that raised the child on the raw diet. The child was consuming a milk drink where the raw milk was blended up with raw liver. This had been part of its diet for 4 years. It was 4 years old, and the other child was just raised the traditional American way, standard American diet. These two kids get together one day under one of the parents' roofs, and there's toys and stuff that they can play with, and the child that had been on the standard American diet was being very selfish. This is mine, go away, I'm going to play. And then, would tire of that and go play with something else and let the other child, the calmer child that was on this diet, would then calmly go and play with what the other child left alone. And there was this set of alphabet blocks, different shapes of the alphabet for different geometric shapes that would go into different geometric slots to get the alphabet right. So the child that had been on the standard American diet was selfishly saying, no, I'm going to do it, So this child tries to do it and can't get one letter correct in all those, in the entire alphabet. Can't put the correct piece or shape into the correct slot. So that child tires of that, goes to the next whatever, and the other child that waited patiently, that had been on this diet, came over and did it perfectly. All the letters lined up perfectly, and the parents noticed it kind of like for the first time that the child had displayed some level of learning capability. So the parents asked the kid, well, that was great. Can you say the alphabet? So the kid just rattles off the alphabet, no problem. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Wow.
Then they say, well, that's great. Can you do the alphabet backwards? And the kid did the alphabet backwards. This is by memory. This isn't looking at the,
At the blocks,
yeah. So that's amazing. So they found out later when they started to see the reading capabilities, the child was on an 8th grade reading level at age 4.
Oh my goodness.
Meaning that when proteins are raw in the diet in your developmental years, and there's none of this deformed amino acids circulating through the system, the body has to contend with inflammation from that. It has to filter it out through the liver and kidneys, causes an acid pH. If the body doesn't have to contend with that, then during the developmental years, what does the DNA of the body do if it has all the nutrients and all the building blocks during the developmental years? It says, well, let's take this to the fullest extent of its maximum development. Meaning, let's instead of developing to say you get 2% brain capacity, let's give you 15 or 20% brain capacity. And or this level of athleticism and coordination and music ability and language ability and whatever. It's just that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, all these different geniuses that have showed up in different periods of time, whether it was Nikola Tesla, whether it was, how Saint Germain could supposedly write, 2 different letters with 2 different hands.
Right.
Separate. All these things are these are phenomenon, indigenous and natural for the human body to experience from each generation to each generation. But because it's always like Russian roulette, throw of the dice type of conception going on, people aren't aware of these things. They aren't paying attention to nutrition. They aren't doing all the things they could do. Then they're giving. It's a mishap, and it's just like happenstance. You end up having sometimes a brilliant child, sometimes a average child, sometimes a low IQ child. Just depends. Because of the nutrients.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people these days are talking about, future generations, and we need to do this, that, and the other, save the planet, and that's all great, and we need to do that. But I think one of the biggest things that anybody could ever do if they want to ensure a better world for the next generations is to make sure to have the healthiest possible pregnancy and birth and focus 100% on that, because when we have a population filled with kids like you're just describing here, I mean, that is going to change society and culture and the planet forever.
Exactly.
And
there's plenty of case histories of people that have reached the level of fame, whether they were musicians or some other area of achievement where they became very famous, but they were raised in such a manner that they didn't have the best of circumstances. They were raised in a foster home, or they went from home to home because of whatever. But it's because their constitution was so strong from, good conception, good gestation, and good first few years of growing up nutrition. Because of that foundation, it ensures that a person can rise above the obstacles that happen in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to have the physical building blocks to be able to deal with the stress, to be able to think clearly, and to be able to see things that we're being presented from either people or corporations, and being able to understand and see through what's happening. And I mean, all of that happens on a physical level through having the correct synapses between, neurons firing one to another, and being able to see what's really going on. And we have to have the building blocks to do all that.
Exactly, Justin. It's like I mean, that's what I see is like even people that are in my family that I know I grew up with that were cousins or whatever that have gone down. They've gone the traditional education route. They've got their degrees. They became their respiratory therapist or their whatever it was that was something credible in terms of some degree or some skill that they got through some university or college learning. But unfortunately, because of the complete and total, like the universities and the schools basically don't acknowledge natural law. They don't acknowledge intuition. They don't acknowledge the spirituality of life. They don't acknowledge living according to these natural laws so that we're in harmony with nature, in harmony with our bodies, in harmony with life, and therefore in harmony with each other. They don't have that as their foundation. So people, they get persuaded to believe that, oh, if I'm a lawyer or a medical doctor or a nurse practitioner or whatever particular title you've got in society, whatever particular skill title you've got, that I'm accomplished. I've got my degree. And then they get their aches and pains, their complaints, and then they get their infection, they do their antibiotics. They get their aches and pains, they do their ibuprofen or their aspirin. They get their, whatever the problem is, and it leads to a snowball effect of taking drugs that results in not addressing the cause, a derangement in their bodily functions such that they don't feel so good. So now they're going to go to things like antidepressants if needed. And you end up with a society, and a lot of people take that, antidepressants, that is incapable of connecting into themselves because they're unplugging the very mechanism that enables them to tune in to the peace and love of God within themselves. It's just so there's so many people like that therefore they cannot discern when they see media telling them nothing but lies. They can't even discern that it's a lie because they're being taught that government, we need government. We need to be looking to them for our guidance, and then all these false flag things that the government does, so that whether it's 9/11, wherever, that the quote terrorist threat that's just a complete fabrication leads people to believe that they need a big government. They need to give up their rights because we have to have security first. And people that are in these compromised states, physically, nutritionally, can't see. Many times, not always, but in a lot of instances. Yeah. And it's very. So yeah, all that you've said, that this is the foundation, nutrition is the foundation, is true. It's true. It's truly, and even sometimes when people do the nutrition fairly well, they're still deluded by the system because of how the mind works. The mind is basically, if you've been indoctrinated to believe so-and-so is a legitimate authority of truth and reliable information, then your subconscious tells you, hey, it's comfortable and reliable to watch news and listen to mainstream radio news and think you're getting the truth. Yeah, there was a guy a while back that said, it was very interesting. He said, when you increase your mineral intake, that is the body's ability to communicate from cell to cell and to be able to, think, correctly, you cannot fool someone who is packed with minerals, who has all 92 minerals or all 94, whatever the number is. He was saying that like when someone has all of those minerals floating around in the bloodstream of their body and their brain, you just simply can't fool them. And I thought, that seems a bit, how do you really know? That just seems a bit weird. But all I can say is that when I changed my diet back in 2003, and I started doing juicing and I started doing all of these supplements and minerals and all kinds of stuff like that, I can tell you that my whole mind has expanded. My spiritual path and my spiritual journey has grown immensely from taking care of my diet and taking care of ingesting minerals and high quality fats. It's night and day with me. It's crazy. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I don't know. I think people can still be deluded even if they're properly nourished. I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. But it helps, right? That certainly helps. Basically, health in general enables more of the cylinders within, you could say as an analogy, the cylinders of your mind are more likely to fire on all cylinders. So as a result, you've got more brain capacity, which enables you to have more reasoning capacity, but also because the brain is basically an antenna to receive information from the psychic, astral world and from your higher self, you can actually attract and download information from wherever you want to call it, the spirit world, that just sort of like is right, and and leads you to steer clear of the deceptions that are out there. And that's the area where I feel like, as a culture, the pineal gland itself, I believe that we're either genetically engineered to have smaller underactive pineal glands for the sake of enslaving humanity, and or that the nutritional part of it is part of it. I think it's the latter. I think it's the first, that we have been engineered, because truly, if the pineal gland worked, then we would produce an array of chemicals. There's dimethyltryptamine, there's pinoline, the melatonin that calm the brainwave state down, enable you to see the fourth dimensional electromagnetic spectrum, so you can see the aura, and you can basically tell if somebody's healthy, if they're lying, or if they're honest. And that's the kind of society where there's no need for courts. When you have the ability to have a functional pineal gland working that enables you to see the higher spectrum, then you cannot be lied to. And that's the kind of, in other words, humanity's been enslaved for a long time, and I feel like if we're going to grow out of this, we have to have our nervous system working optimally so that you can't be lied to. So therefore, each generation potentially, if parents do things right, they conceive and gestate these healthy children, then that brain of that new adult should have a larger, more functional pineal gland, which enables them to be more clairvoyant, be more able to see and know the truth, and not be lied to, and be more in touch with God and Spirit. And so then you have a society that progressively becomes, 100% free, sovereign, God-connected human beings.
I am so on board with that, and I think that's how we're going to change our culture. All of this voting and all this stuff, it's not going to change anything. This is what we need to do, is invest in ourselves. And I like what you said. I like all that you were saying about the minerals when a lady is pregnant, and the fat-soluble vitamins and vitamin A, D, and K2. Super important. Gosh, thanks, Stephen, for being on the show. Such awesome information.
Yeah, well, it's always a pleasure. It's always fun to help people feel the benefits. So thanks for having me on, Justin.
Yeah, no problem. Let me just close out the live show. Hang on the line there, and just want to thank everybody for joining us. Let me make sure I get this correct here. This was episode 470. Is it 5 or 6? 476. So if you guys want to listen to the show on the website, you can just go to extremehealthradio.com/476. And if you know anybody who is pregnant, it seems like the majority of the content that we talked about this time was pregnancy and osteoporosis, building strong bones, and acid-alkaline balance within the body. So if you know anyone dealing with those issues, do us a favor and pass this show on to them, or share it with your Facebook people. We would all appreciate that. That way we can get the word out to more and more people that they do have options when it comes to their health, and they do have choice, and they do have the ability to turn things around. And that's really what it's all about, to have hope and choice and all of that. So thank you guys. You guys are amazing. 476 if you want to listen on the website itself. We love you all. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. All right, guys, episode 476 in the books with Mr. Stephen Heuer. What did you guys think about that? Oh, I almost forgot. One last thing that I forgot to say is all of the products that Stephen mentioned in this show, I'll put links to those on the website itself for this particular page. So that is extremehealthradio.com/476. Ideas. I like what he was saying about osteoporosis. I can't tell you how many times people have written in and asked constantly about osteoporosis. When you guys sign up to our newsletter, one of the first things I do is I ask you a question, and I ask to write back, to reply, and let me know what your health concern is, because I want to create content that is going to be beneficial to you guys, and I want to create content that you're actually going to like and actually going to be able to use. So I ask you, what is your biggest health concern? And I have to say, it's a huge percentage of people write in and say, my mom has osteoporosis, or I have osteoporosis, this, that, and the other. And it's one of the big things that people deal with. And so it was really cool today to talk to Stephen and find out about what he talks about with osteoporosis. Very interesting ideas, most of which I had known, but it's nice to be reminded of things, isn't it? Sometimes we get to know things, and we feel like we know things so well, But then when you talk to someone who really knows what they're talking about, or they're really studious and they've studied a lot about the subject, you realize, oh, wow, I forgot a lot of things. So it was really cool. There's a osteoporosis. If you guys are dealing with osteoporosis, there's an interesting program put out by a former guest of ours, really good guy, Dr. J.E. Williams. And I think it's called the Complete Bone Health Program, I think. In any event, if you want to check it out, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/bones, plural, B-O, B as in boy, B-O-N-E-S, extremehealthradio.com/bones. And you can learn about bone health from him. He's got some really interesting ideas. I mean, this is becoming such an issue and such a prevalent issue in our society. And I think a lot of it, too, has to do with just living an unnatural life for so long. You know, you see people that are in their 60s and 70s starting to have health issues, and it's just really sad because they spend the majority of their lives sort of not caring about their health, not taking care of themselves. Some people abuse their bodies their whole life, or some people just, health is sort of the last thing on their mind. And as we get older, our body's ability to deal with certain stressors diminishes. And the more it diminishes, the more it will diminish. It's like a snowball kind of effect, because like if your liver is unable to deal with certain, if it's very sensitive or it's not able to deal with certain toxic overloads over time, then your liver stops working, right? It stops being able to process those toxins. And when that happens, those toxins get pushed out, or they get excreted, or they're floating around your bloodstream and causing excess stress and pressure on other systems of the body. Then those systems have to deal with the toxins, for example. And then those systems get worn out, and then, it becomes this cascading sort of effect. And, you see that with people when they get 60s and 70s and 80s, and then they finally start taking care of themselves. It's a really long uphill battle. They really have to work hard at reversing a lot of these things. And it's possible. It's completely possible. It's just, it takes more work. And so as we age, our diet theoretically should go from, not should go, but according to just the way the normal culture, American culture, should start out, horrible like it always does. It should start out like that, but it most of the time does. But as we get older, we should be getting better and better and tighter and more disciplined, and eating a healthier diet as we age. So you should be eating a healthier diet at 50 than you were at 40, and at 40 from 30, and so on. So every day should be a progress of moving in that direction. And so, but if you don't, then it really starts to put a burden or a toxic load on the immune system. And when you have a toxic load on the immune system, it becomes something, it's like a teeter-totter. You know what I mean? You could have two people that weigh 150 pounds on the end of a teeter-totter, and it's just, the teeter-totter is parallel to the ground, but then you can put like a 5-pound weight, something tiny, just a little bit of weight on one side, and then that person weighs 155, the other person weighs 150, and then the teeter-totter just swings, because all it takes is one more toxic exposure or toxic overload, or maybe not even that. Maybe just some organ system in your body just fails to work correctly. And that pushes the teeter-totter in the other direction. And then you have a whole host of health consequences as a result of that. So as we get older, we should constantly be looking to improve our diet and get better and get sugars out of the diet and get more medicines into the diet, more supplements, more wild food into your diet, more absorbable food combined properly, and like I said, eat less sugar, and all of those things. We should be constantly working on those as we get older. And it's just so sad when I see people dealing with osteopenia, osteoporosis. My mom had osteopenia for a long time. She was able to reverse it with a series of interesting concoctions that we got from an herbalist named Susan Weed, Sunweed, and she did rebounding, which we highly recommend. Rebounding is one of the best things for osteoporosis, just so you know, as a physical exercise, because what it does is it puts a strain and a pressure on all of your muscles in the body, and your muscles are attached to your bone. And so I highly recommend everyone that wants to keep strong, healthy bones, not just if you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, But if you want to keep strong, healthy bones, rebounding has to be a part of your plan. And I do it every day for 30 minutes. But what it does is it has that negative G-force. And so the up and down motion of the gravity with the G-force and bouncing, springing back up again puts this stress on all of your muscles. And so NASA actually used rebounding to help with the astronauts that came back down to the planet and to rebuild their bone density. And so rebounding's huge. So anyway, she did rebounding, and she did a series of herbs from Susan Weed. They're called infusions. An infusion is pretty cool. An infusion requires lots of the herbal substance. So what we did is, you can do this too if you like. If you go to the bottom of our website, there's a link for Mountain Rose Herbs, and it's also in our store as well. Same with the rebounder I just talked about too. That's in our store as well. But at the bottom of our website currently, there's a link for Mountain Rose Herbs, and you go there and, you research Susan Weed and you find out the herbs. I forget, it was like horsetail, nettle. Gosh, what was the other ones? Red clover, I think, and 2 other ones. There's 5 herbs that she used. And so what you do is you would put an ounce by weight, I think, of these herbs. You buy like a 1 or 2 pound bag from Mountain Rose Herbs, and then you put them into a mason jar. And it's a lot of herb. It's actually like it fills about half the mason jar up. It's a lot of herbs by weight if you do it by weight. And then you pour boiling water on that overnight, excuse me, and you put that in the sink. So in case it cracks the mason jar overnight, you're okay. And you don't get glass everywhere. So you put boiling water over the top of those herbs. That's what's called an infusion, just a water extraction. And you let it sit overnight. In the morning, you strain it off, and then you drink that throughout the day. That's your medicine for the day. And you rotate every day for those 5 herbs. It might be 7 herbs. I think it's 5 though. Look up Susan Weed, SUSUNWEED, herbalist. Type it into Google, and you can find some YouTube videos and find out the herbs that she talks about. But anyway, she did that for about a year and did rebounding and weight training, and was pretty rigorous about all of those things. And she was able to really reverse osteoporosis, osteopenia, which I thought was really cool. And but yeah, I love what Steve was saying, and it makes so much sense. When you're eating an acidic diet, it really pulls calcium and minerals from your bones. And I thought what was really strange was it's so amazing how the body's set up, isn't it? I've heard people talk about, our bodies are kind of like a hologram in a sense, because you could remove like your gallbladder, for example, or your tonsils or certain organs, many organs, and your body will somehow be able to pick up the slack, even though the organs that are picking up the slack, that's not even their job. They don't have any physical, mechanical, physiological ability to do that, but your organs will pick up the slack. And so it's interesting that the body will do whatever it takes to maintain that proper blood pH. And if that means pulling minerals from your cartilage, from your discs, from your bones, probably your skin and your organs as well. We didn't talk about that. What happens when your body starts pulling minerals from organs, because you have an acidic blood, and it will do anything to maintain that perfect blood pH. And so I find it probably will pull from the organs last, because obviously your organs are so important. But I just find it interesting that the body is so intelligently designed that it will pull from the least damaging parts first, and in reverse order, keep pulling minerals to balance that blood pH from more and more from different parts of your body in a succession from least dangerous to most dangerous. I just find that to be so interesting. How is that possible? It makes complete sense to me that we had to be designed, right? We can't have there's no way for evolution to account for that. Now, whether or not we're designed by the God in the Christian Bible is a different story, but my goodness, you have to see some sort of intelligent, creative design behind that. So anyway, I just found it really interesting, and I thought it was really cool too. He talked about the gestation period, the pregnancy period of women, and having healthy kids. I think that's really where it's at. My goodness. That is, if we want to build a society and a culture that's going to be able to, what's the right word? Navigate through the madness that is the upside down nature of our society. If we want to be able to have people that can cut through all the BS and to see through all that and to be able to carve a life out for themselves and to be conscious creatures creating in this world and to be able to be loving and aware and all of that stuff, it starts with pregnancy. It starts with building healthy babies. So yeah, I should mention this. There is a product right now. If you guys are listening to this right now, let me tell you about a product. It's called the Happy Healthy Baby program. And, if you go to our store, there's places in there under digital products for like the Healthy Baby Code, which we recommend, by Chris Kresser. He's a doc up in, San Francisco area, California, and a Happy Healthy Baby. At the time that you are listening to this, it's currently running right now. It's like a 12-day program, but it should be available. And I think it is, let me find the link for that for you. Okay, let me look around here for you. Oh, it's actually called the Happy Healthy Child. Happy Healthy Child. So it's just extremehealthradio.com/HHC. HHC for child. And then you'll be able to check it out. And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Building healthy babies and building healthy people so that the next generation of people can come in and really, really take this nation and take this country to a new level. I'm just so turned on by that. I think that's part of what we need to be doing. That's, really, really a huge focus is helping women to be able to give birth to healthy kids, And I just want to say, hey, too, cool. Thank you. We just got a new iTunes review. Please, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. We would be really grateful for that. Aaron ZB says, I found Extreme Health Radio while trying to fill some of my commute time with alternative health related content about a year ago. I look forward to every show. Justin and Kate are amazing. They interview some of the most intriguing and knowledgeable people. The shows are thought provoking and deep, and I've learned way more than I ever thought I would. That's awesome. I don't know what that says about us. What does that say about us when someone goes into our podcast not expecting a whole lot? Oh, that's funny. I've learned a lot more, way more than I ever thought I would. I highly recommend. You will not be disappointed. Thank you, Justin and Kate. Y'all rock. That's from Aaron ZB. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Yeah, we do our best. We interview a lot of the top people that we know about and constantly trying to find new and interesting people. But one of the things too is a lot of people complain and they say, well, this person really is just trying to sell products, or this person disagrees with that person. If we only focused on people that didn't disagree with anybody else, we really wouldn't have a lot of people to choose from to talk to. So like, for example, if we just only wanted to talk to vegans or paleo people and we stuck within that world, I mean, there's only a couple hundred people. I don't know, maybe there's 1,000, but still, I mean, there's not a lot of people and you're going to get a lot of the same information. So in order for us to continue to offer shows, we got to talk to all kinds of people that differ in opinion and all that kind of stuff. So it's just part of the deal. It's part of, everyone in culture and in life, doesn't agree with each other. So it's just part of what has to happen. And, I was talking about this the other day, with Kate. It's interesting because certain people will say, like, there's a YouTube comment on our video interview we did with Sarah Banta a while back. And someone said something like, excuse me. Someone said something to the effect of, what is this one big long commercial for her products? And I just, I got to thinking about that. And it's challenging. It's really challenging because if you were to do our show, it's virtually impossible to talk to someone who doesn't have something to sell. Everybody has something to sell, whether it's their story, whether it's just their website, if they want to get people to go to their website, or whether it's a product, or whether it's a course, an online program, or whether it's, a book or, any kind of work that they do, there's always going to be something that people are selling. And so the trick for us is to find people who are really passionate about what they're doing, right? And then the other criteria is that whatever they're selling has to work, right? It has to be something that's that actually works for people. And then we have to judge and evaluate them. Is their heart in the right place? Are they only coming to sell their products and they don't really care about anything else, or do they live the life themselves? And so it's really challenging, because if we just only talk to people who didn't have anything to sell, there would be no one to talk to. Literally, there'd be nobody to talk to. And so the challenge for us is to find reputable people that are spiritually awake and conscious and evolved, people that are open-minded, people that aren't necessarily trying to sell, aren't trying their hardest to sell stuff. But for example, like if I know something, like let's say, let me just try to think of something really quickly off the top of my head here. Let's say like a device, like a sauna or something. Now I love our sauna, but I can't make any claims about it. And this is something that Steve and I were talking about off the air just now. But let's say I say our sauna can, actually I'm not even going to use that sauna. I'm not going to use the sauna. Let me just say some contraption, some widget that we learn about, right? Let's say that widget can get rid of acne or get rid of diabetes or something, right? And it's got a 100% success rate and all of that. So then it's like, okay, if I'm presented with that information and I look at the person behind that product and I think, okay, he seems like a good guy or a good girl, and I could tell that he's living the life himself and he wants to help people. And he, isn't all about just the money, but he does have an amazing product that does fix a certain problem that people have. It's my job to tell people about that, whether or not we are connected financially or not. It's my duty, because if some widget can do something, and now again, this is just something that's completely off topic because it's not, we can't make claims or any of that. But let's just say for, in a real world example, that was the case. We could do that. It wouldn't be in my best interest to not let people know about that. And if it doesn't work for everyone, I can't really be responsible. All I can do is highlight and feature people. And then you guys can make the decision why I like this guy, I don't like this guy, or whatever. Or I don't think his claims are good, or whatever the case, right? I mean, that's just the idea. And so the same goes with, nutrition products, minerals, and things like that, like Stephen sells. I mean, if you have something that really helps people, how else are you able to get that information out, right? I mean, imagine if you had a green powder that, I don't know, got rid of every human disease. Of course you'd want to tell people about it, right? And of course you'd want to let people know that they can take it. But what else? I mean, what are you supposed to do, really, right? I mean, it's really, really challenging. So, we just have to make sure that we pick people that are honorable, that are upstanding, that are conscious, that are living the life, that also have other things that share good information, right? And just let the chips fall where they may. Stephen has a line of products that he sells, and that's awesome. And I love his products. His products are awesome, and I really highly recommend you checking them out and using them. I use them, and I think they're some of my. In fact, we just ran out of one of his products, One World Whey, and we're getting the whey today, and I love it. I love it, but it's I don't know. It's just something that you have to sort of sift through. And so just because somebody sells something doesn't make them a bad guy. It doesn't make them, here's my take on the whole thing too, is the FDA doesn't want people to make claims, and the freedom of speech is really kind of something that's gone out the window. And we can't really make claims. We can't really say exactly what certain products do. Because the FDA, their deal is they want to control, and they're essentially protecting the pharmaceutical monopoly, because they're the only ones that can use the cure word, right? So, but my take on all of that is, why not stop treating us like little children? And that the reason why they treat us like little children is because we let them, and we act like little children. So what if they just stopped treating us like little children, and we took full responsibility for everything we do in our life, And we take responsibility for people scamming us, right? There's late night preachers on television asking and demanding people send them $1,000 checks when they can't make their rent, telling them that God's going to bless them or not bless them if they don't send a check. So in some capacity, the government lets them say things and do things. And so my thing is, why not just let everyone make all the claims they want, and then it's up to the person. Caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, and you can't run off and sue that person because they made a claim. If they made a claim and you bought into it and it was a lie, then, then you're out $50 or $1,000, whatever you spent on the product. Then maybe next time you'll do a little more research, right? But no, that's not the way it works. The way it works is that the FDA comes as a legal arm for the government, comes raining down on companies that make claims. And that's the issue, is making claims on things and saying this product does this product cures that. We can't say those things. And I'm even averse to saying them, and we don't even sell them. We're connected with Stephen through an affiliate program, so we don't sell his products on our website. We refer you to him, and he's very careful not to make any claims too. It's a very fine line. But would I like to make claims and talk about all the amazing things that his products have done for me? Of course. But I just can't do that. And obviously too, every human body is different. So it's going to do different things for me as it did for you, depending on the product and depending on the physiological makeup of your body and all that good stuff. So, it's up to you to make those decisions, and we do the best we can. So, we got a lot of different, different opinions and different things going on. And so that's just really what we're trying to do here, is to highlight people, products, of course products, right? I mean, that's part of the thing is without products, you can't really achieve optimal health in terms of the quickness with which you can do it without products and supplements, right? I believe the human body essentially doesn't need any of that stuff, and we should be living in a Garden of Eden type environment where we don't need anything other than sunlight, nature, God, water, good food, sex, relationships, fulfillment. That's really what we need. But because we live in this weird matrix society where the culture is so damaged and there's so many pollutants and toxins, we need supplements. I think at least we do. And so that's one of the things is finding a place you like and trying their products, seeing if they work for you. And, the same goes with, what's his name? Daniel Vitalis. His products over at Surthrival are amazing as well. They're really great products. And he does he's much like Stephen Heuer. He doesn't come on the show and just sell. He's giving all kinds of information. He's really into the lifestyle, just like Stephen is. And I love selling Surthrival's products. I love selling Synergistic Nutrition's products. They're great. They're amazing. So, I would love a world where we could give everything away for free. No one had anything to sell and all of that, but that's just not the nature of the world we live in. Unfortunately, maybe one day if we start building healthier babies, that would be the case. But until we get there, we need some things to help support us along the way. So if you do go buy any of Surthrival's products, or if you buy anything from Stephen Heuer, which I highly recommend you do, if you go through our links, it helps support the show, and we feel very, very good, very confident that we're bringing to you products we use and products we love. And Stephen is a great guy, and I love supporting him and his work, and I just love him. He's an awesome guy, and he's got a lot of great information to share. So, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that, it's just part of the way capitalism works, our world, our society, the way it all works. So, I hope you enjoyed that show. And that's I think about it. If you guys enjoyed it, please do us a favor and share the show with your friends. If you know anyone who's dealing with, like I said before, osteoporosis, bone issues, again, you can check out extremehealthradio.com/bones and check that out as well. Or acid alkaline pH issues, send this show on to them. I think they might like it. Currently, we're doing 3 shows a week on Monday, Tuesday, Friday. So if you want to stay up to date with everything we have going on, we would encourage that. And we would be happy if you followed us on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. Probably the best way, though, would be to sign up to our newsletter list. That way you get updates on all of our shows. We do 3 shows a week, and we send 2 emails a week on Mondays and Fridays. Sometimes we forget, or sometimes we just can't do it. But typically on Mondays, Friday mornings, I like to send them out at 5:55 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I like the triple numbers there. But yeah, so we let you guys know about any summits that are going on. Summits are awesome because they're these free events that happen, and you can listen to them or watch them, and they're all free. All you got to do is sign up for them, and you get access to everything for free. So we send you all the events that are going on, and we also send you any product recommendations that we like, and most importantly, our recent shows. So all of our shows will be on there. So if you are driving along, if you're exercising right now, you're running, the best way to sign up to our newsletter is probably to go to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe, or text the word get healthy, all one word, to 33444, and you'll be able to do that right from your phone. Most people listen to on the phones these days, so that's probably the best way to stay up to date with everything we have going on. And yeah, what else? I want to let you guys know too, one other thing that we're working on too behind the scenes is a private membership website where you get access to an amazing person, and we're very excited about this. This is a really cool, I want to tell you about this really quickly. This is a resource that we're building that I've always wanted in my life, is to have a resource like this where people can get access to an amazing doctor. And it's going to be a place where we're going to have community, and it's going to allow us to get more in contact with you and stay in touch with you and help people individually out. And it's not for everyone. I just want to qualify this. It's not for everyone. It's only for those of you that have health conditions, or if you want to sort of take your health to a new level, like what we're talking about on today's show. If you really want to ramp things up and get access to a doctor, a community of people who are on the same path as you and who think the same way as you, this is going to be for you. And so if you're just sort of casually interested in health and it's not that big a deal. If you are, I can't imagine you'd still be listening to this at this point in the podcast. But if you are someone who's really into the cutting edge and wants to really dive deep on or into the health challenges you might have and figuring out what's going on with you so that you can get on with your life and have more energy, sleep better, have a higher sex drive, regulate hormones, have better digestion, all that good stuff. We're going to be covering all of that, and with specific protocols, and there's going to be an awesome community. So this is going to be a place for you. If that's not your thing, that's totally cool. I don't want people to join because we want to make sure that we serve everyone in the community. That's the whole thing, is we want to make sure that everyone in the community gets served and gets their questions answered and gets tons and tons of value and community and friendship and all that's good stuff. And the sky's the limit for where we're going to take this thing too. We're really excited. We can see a lot of really cool things happening. So in any event, if you're interested, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/476, and under the sponsors for this particular episode, we will put a link to the membership community there. So that's extremehealthradio.com/476. All right, guys, we're out of here. It's time for me. I'm going to go do my rebounder outside. Today's not my workout day. I normally work out Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and I've been doing a really cool workout outside. Body weight exercises. I have a little weight vest, goes up to about 80 pounds. I guess it's not little, but I do all my exercises, my pull-ups with the weight vest, push-ups, and being grounded on the grass, on the ground, breathing fresh air and the sunlight. Oh, it is so, I'm so excited about having this outdoor workout space. It's awesome. So, but today's not my workout day. I'm going to go out there and rebound right now, take the dogs out, let them sniff around, dig their little holes, and I'm going to go jump around on my rebounder. I've been doing 30 minutes on that thing, on the Bellicon, which is awesome. I recently improved from 25 minutes to 30 minutes. I started out doing 10 minutes. Was it 10? I think it was 10. Then I went to 15. About 6 months later, or a year later, I went to 20 and 25. So about probably 6 months ago, I moved to 30 minutes rebounding. So that's pretty cool. I just did some calculations the other day. 30 minutes, 365 days a year is 10,950 minutes. So if you divide that by 60 minutes in an hour, that's 182 hours a year. Divide that by 24, That's 7 by 24 hours in a day. That's 7.6 days out of the year that I rebound, which is so cool, right? 7.6 days out of every year I rebound. And what's cool too is I listen to podcasts and I listen to things, so I'm learning while I'm rebounding and breathing fresh air. It's awesome. Anyway, enough about that stuff. Love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all your support on Patreon. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your iTunes reviews. Thank you for buying through our Amazon link. You guys are so cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for shopping in our store, checking out all the products we have in our store. You guys are amazing. Man, you guys are we couldn't do this without you, so thank you. Really appreciative of each and every single one of you. You guys are just so cool. So thank you for supporting us that way. And thank you, if you don't do any of those things, thank you for sharing our stuff on Facebook, sharing our podcast with your friends. That's amazing. I always get a kick when I look at how many people share and stuff like that. It's just awesome. So we appreciate you. All right, guys. Love you all. Hope you're doing great. And stay tuned. We're going to have more shows coming soon. And I'll catch you guys on the next episode.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering